Well, hello there again. This is the Sony Integrated Stereo Amplifier TAV3. Now, interestingly, I stumbled upon this unit by accident. I was actually searching for parts of my V30 stereo, which, as you can tell, looks almost identical, only the screen is a bit different. But it is, and this one is a later model of this unit. And yeah, this was the amp that showed up before. The difference between this is that unit has a graphic equalizer, this one does not. We just have bass, treble, and left and right, and a loudness button. And of course the volume slider, which is a lot bigger, and I like that. Now, as you can tell, I have modified this unit up here heavily. You'll be able to tell that I replaced all of the light bulbs up here with LEDs, and even the power switch is glowing, which is visible if we turn the light off. Now, I got this unit. This was actually one of the first stereos I ever bought and repaired myself. And I recently just tried to get rid of all the issues it had. A big issue with that stereo was that there was no real sound coming out of it. I mean, it was coming out of it, but you had to wait a long time or turn the volume up really high. I eventually found out that the relay that does the speaker protection is broken, and it's a bit of a weird relay, and that is why there is no replacement part for it. But, oh well, I'm currently having this unit running without speaker protection. If something happens or does not happen during power on and power up, oh well, it just would mean I need new speakers. But I have some rather cheap speakers hooked up to this because this is the stereo I use for my computer. Now this, since I accidentally stumbled upon this by just forgetting to put the 0 behind the 3 of the model number, I stumbled upon this, and I was really surprised when I found out what feature it has. It has a main feature that is absolutely incredible for just being a stereo. I really enjoy it. And that is its display. First of all, yeah, here's a lot of empty space that is not used on the front panel, whereas on the other unit a lot more space is being used. Reason for that? Well, we do not have the graphic equalizer. And this unit also does not have as many inputs as the other one. We just get CD, tuner, phono, and tape. That's it. Nothing else. The other one has has 2 channels more, I believe. And yeah, let's press the power button, and you will see what I mean. Now currently it just says tape. That's as much as what I know what actually does work of this unit. Everything else I have no clue in what condition it is. I haven't hooked it up to anything yet. But this display itself is called a spot character function display. We'll zoom in a bit on that so you can have a look. Now, what this display is, it's multiple layers actually, it's sandwiched together, so meaning it has all the letters, tape, CD, AUX, tuner, and phono all sandwiched on top of each other, just like, you guessed it, an Tube. Only that the real difference is this just works with some light bulbs, and this here works with actual neon and high voltage. Now, yeah, the tape is the only thing that does work. Everything else doesn't appear to do nothing at all. So my thought is, I'm pretty sure it's just going to be the light bulbs that are broken. I'm assuming they used light bulbs since it was the same issue with that unit up there, that a lot of the lights actually did not work because, well, the light bulbs were all blown. Alright, then let's lift the back panel and have a look inside. Or top panel, actually. Alright, and this is what we get. Now, the construction of this unit is very similar, almost identical to the V30 model. There are just some minor differences. The layout is a bit different, and the whole thing is kept a lot simpler. I do actually believe it is the same transformer. It looks pretty much identical with the other one. The construction is very, very familiar, and we also have the relay down here, which I think is the reason why there is no audio output. The seller just says, yeah, it switches on, and the light is the only thing that works. Oh well, doesn't matter. That's what we are here for. It's always nice to find some obscure hi-fi, and hopefully it's broken, so we do actually have some stuff to fix. Now there's a lot of dust in here. I have no clue what that is. It seems like, oh no, it is cigarette dust. I should not have touched that. Seems like the previous owner was a smoker. Oh well, at least the cigarette residue is not a lot in here. Otherwise, yeah, I would be a little bit pissed, because yeah, it smells bad, it sticks to everything, and it's just getting annoying. So, what we've got to do now is take the front panel off. There are some screws in the bottom, and some screws in the top, and the panel should lift right off. By the way, another cool feature about this stereo is it has a bottom panel that can be removed. So you gain access to the entire circuit board, which is going to make desoldering that relay in there a whole lot easier. This here is the cable that goes all the way over to the display. And, well, actually it says it right here. Just have reason to believe that the light bulbs are all blown, or something else has happened, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be anything rather difficult to fix. Alright, screws are out. Now, Sony always has a weird way of lifting these things. Ah, the display is mounted to the front panel of plastic. Let's see if we can take this one here out, actually. Of course you can. And I am definitely going to swap the piece in here out with one of my glowing ones. And the way I pretty much do that is I just, well, remove it. I have a 3D printed one out of clear plastic, or transparent plastic. It's yellow plastic actually, and I mount some very tiny SMD LEDs on the back to hook that up to a power source in here, preferably the relay, because I'm going to remove that anyway, and it will get a sort of dim effect, because that relay takes some time to actually activate, and they just do it by raising the voltage until, yeah, it gets to the level where it switches. Interestingly, I just saw there are some things missing in here. Weird. I can see if I can actually get the display out of here. That would be awesome. So I'm pretty sure somebody had a go at this, since that is some very, very craptacular soldering down there. I hope that nobody glued this thing down, because yeah, really... Oh, while I'm removing the display, I can just remove the board up here. Some clips in there holding it down, and you should be able to lift those out and get the board. Now, interestingly, there are two lamps missing. And yes, somebody did have a go at this and took out all the lamps. Why? Now, one of those is covered in some clear shrink wrap tubing, or shrink tubing. That's so it gets a different color than yellow, so you have some different color effects on the whole thing. And yeah, that one is blown, and this one here still seems to be fine. Weird. Now again, no real issue. That is some, well, that is some crappy soldering. Somebody really had to go at this board. Oh, it's dirty and everything. So yeah, just gonna plug this thing back in and see what light bulb actually switches on. I'm thinking it's just gonna be the one that did not have that blue tube on it, and I was right, since the other one is also blown, and they do get warm. Alright, so well, what do we need to do now is, well, we just gotta take all of these out, measure the voltage that this thing runs on, and since I'm pretty sure, yeah, they all use a common ground, put a big resistor in front of there. I mean, you can just use one resistor and run it on all 4 LEDs. Because on this it really doesn't matter, because just one is gonna be switched on at a time. And Somebody really had a go at this. There's electrical tape and all other kinds of weird stuff in here. Yeah. That is weird. But yeah, that is not a difficult fix. I'm actually thinking if I should actually give everyone a different color in here, or if I should just make all of them green, because I do only have green SMD LEDs and I don't really feel like heading to the store just to do that. I just noticed something. I've got an LED here, regular one, and that just fits in there absolutely perfectly. Neat. So, just as if it was made for LEDs. Huh. Weird. Didn't know why they just went with LEDs. I mean, they were bright enough back then. Alright, you can see some mod resistors on the board now. I mean, okay, it's definitely not the prettiest way to do it, but it is a way to do it. And the biggest issue is clearance, and there's not a lot of clearance in the top, so I had to do it as flat as possible, which is this. Yeah, you can definitely see I have got some LEDs on here now, and you'll definitely also see something a bit weird, which is the LED in the bottom. Now, I have all LEDs in super bright there, but the problem is I do not have any 5mm LEDs in super bright green, which is this one. So I kind of went with a SMD one just for now, to just get it up and running. And I tell you what, this does work very well. I mean, all the LEDs light up beautifully in the display. It's a lot brighter than it ever was before. And yeah, the reason why this thing is on such a stand, the SMD one, is, well, I have to raise it, otherwise it will not illuminate properly. And yeah, that is pretty much it, I believe. I don't know if there's anything else wrong with this unit. I'm just going to check that relay in there and make sure that there aren't any connection issues. But now we can plug this thing in. I did have to file down the plastic in here a little bit, just because the bases of the LEDs did not fit in there. Alright, after fixing the display and everything, I did some more research on what exactly is wrong with this thing. So I first hooked up some speakers to this unit in the back. You have the regular speaker terminals, just a 20-watt amplifier, and you get these 4 terminals. Now the thing is, on the right side, everything works just fine. On the left side, I get pretty much nothing. Sometimes it's a really weird noise. And if I try to hook up a speaker to it, I get sparks. And if I hook up a small speaker, like a 5-watt or 10-watt speaker, the protection relay, which is in here, there, which was my first idea that was broken, switches on immediately and keeps looping like that. It switches on, switches off, switches on, switches off. Surprisingly, I think this relay is actually still just fine. I mean, the other stair was broken, but yeah. So I did some investigating on what was going on. So I hooked up a multimeter to the speaker terminals, and I found out that the right speaker terminal works just fine, everything is fine there, but the left speaker terminal delivers 36 volts DC output. Now, I tried the regular stuff, trying to remove some components of the left speaker side here, and no matter what components I removed, everything stayed the same. So there is clearly something wrong with the main amplifier, which I was actually really hoping that would not be, because, well, as you can tell, that's an all-in-one amplifier. It's soldered directly to the board. Well, that's alright, but it is this big package here. And that is a bit of a downside, because finding a replacement part for something like this, which was made 30 years ago and is not just a regular transistor or so. This is the preamp and the final amp all meshed together on one big thing, and does everything. The only thing you really have to do is deliver some filtered input, or change a few things or what's going on here. That's why this amplifier is also so small, because Sony decided, hey, we'll just use one of these and done. But luckily, there seems to be a big stock of these things left on eBay, selling for around 10 euros or so, which is pretty good. And as you can tell, yeah, it's not ceramic, it's actually plastic. There will be a pretty big chip or something in here that does everything. I might open the old one up actually, and we may have a look inside, because yeah, it could be quite interesting to see what's inside of one of these. But I mean, the idea itself is not bad, to just combine everything into one big mashed up thing. But the problem is if that thing breaks, because the previous owner, I'm pretty sure he overloaded something and shorted out, and you just get the direct output in there. So, but I'm definitely going to control that. I'm going to remove this chip and, well, take everything out, see if the voltage on the output still stays the same, because if it could also be that something else has failed that I haven't seen so far. Remove this, check the output. If there's no output whatsoever, then everything will be fine, and it was really that piece that was broken. And I'm going to solder this one in, and we can see if everything works just fine. Should. And yeah, I accidentally exploded one of the capacitors while I was working in here. So another component that needs to be replaced, and one of the some pads on the bottom also are a bit loose. Good thing is this stereo has this bottom access panel, which can be removed, and you get access to the bottom of the board without having to really disassemble the entire stereo, which is pretty good. We can already measure the pin pitch and see if that's proper. And well, what do you know? Exactly 16 pins. So these two are exactly the same. This is a replacement unit. I'm not sure if it's made by the same company that made the other one, since I cannot find any data on these things whatsoever. I'll definitely have to add some hot glue somewhere in here, because one of the pads has gotten loose. And as you can probably tell, there's a little baud resistor down there. Now, that little baud resistor is something that I added, and the problem is when I was working on the display, the power switch over here is very, very close to the contacts, and since I had the resistors previously mounted on the board, it shorted out and blew the fuse that's in here. Now, currently I have bridged the fuse with just one resistor, because, well, one LED is going to be on at a time, so that thing is perfectly fine. But yeah, and if swapping this thing out does not work, well, the easiest option is to remove the transformer, remove the entire amplifier in here, keep all these boards in here, I'm not going to remove those, and instead take a small car amplifier, probably going to remove this bar here as well, mount that in here, get a 12 volt power supply, put that over there, and hook the 12 volt power supply up to the amplifier, of course, and hook all the existing connections that are in here, all the existing circuitry and everything else, directly up to the car amplifier, if swapping this thing out does not help. I'm trying to just repair this unit. I do not want to make an entire modification on it and put in new stuff that originally didn't belong in there. But that would just be the last backup plan. Oh yeah, and I also have to make some new feet, since for whatever reason the feet in the front still are there, the back, on the bottom and on the top they are missing. There you go. And on this one, the rubber cover is missing. I think somebody was trying to disassemble this unit, but didn't know he could just take off the top of the case. And probably, yeah, he tried to fix that and replace some light bulbs. Or, I don't know what happened. But yeah, it's good that I got the replacement part. It's also good to know that, because my other stereo uses the exact same thing. Alright, this is the board I have to desolder, the front part in here, of course. And yeah, the easiest way to do that would just to use one of these. But I'm going to use something a little bit more overpowered, because, well, I usually had issues with these sucking up some pads. So, I'm not going to be using one of those, I'm going to be using one of these. fully automatic desoldering gun. Not the best unit, because the tips are kinda shit, but it does its purpose perfectly well. I'm probably gonna make my own tips for this out of stainless steel, because the steel they use is really soft. The way it just works, stick the tip all the way down there, wait for it to heat up, move it around a little bit, and then just press the button that sucks up the solder. It's that simple. So, as you can tell, I have removed the heatsink. The amplifier came just right off. There are just 2 screws in the bottom that hold it in place. I believe there were supposed to be 4, because we have 4 holes on either side and even 4 screw mounts in the case. So probably somebody who owned the stereo previously was not treating it very well. So all the screws are removed. This can now be taken off. But first of all, let's have a look if the issue is still there. Now the issue was that on these 2 I had 36 volts DC on the speaker outputs. So well, if there was an issue with this thing and it's missing, these 36 volts should not be there anymore. And what did I tell you? They're gone. Now, as you can probably tell, we have some thermal paste on the back of this amp, and we are going to have to take this off, of course. Just use a screwdriver and wedge it underneath. And yeah, that is pretty much... oh, it's still liquid actually, it's not that solid. They were kind of cheap on that, could have used more. I'm not really gonna bother to clean this up because, well, why? So just got some PC thermal paste. Gotta be really careful with this stuff because it is kinda toxic and everything. And usually it should just be enough to have one big stripe like that. I'm gonna add a little bit more just because I can. And I'm trying to use this thermal paste up because there's not a lot left in here. I want to use a new one, which is from a different company. But for this application that should be more than enough. Alright, we just sit this on here. Press it down firmly. Make sure that the holes are aligned with the screw holes. Take our screws. Oops, that came loose. That was not supposed to happen. And just tighten them up by hand a little bit before you get the screwdriver and tighten them up real good. Alright, screws are in place. Thermal paste should have spread enough around. These screws are really hard to get in there. Alright, and all we gotta do now is, well, we take our sponge on the bottom off. Perfectly not put in the stereo. Oh yeah, switch this off and also pull the power plug, but I'm going to do that later when I start soldering again. And then just screw the amp back in place. That easy. So well, we are almost finished. Now we just have to get the multimeter out of here, because that's kind of in the way. Take the amplifier, put it back when it's back again. Align this thing with the pins and solder it back in place. Alright, and while the soldering iron is warming up, we are going to wash our hands because that stuff there is kind of nasty. You don't want that in your hands and you're accidentally eating it. Alright, how about some close-up soldering? As you can see, some of the pads, they aren't in that great shape anymore. I've tried my best, but on some they just do come loose. This board in general, the pads do not really stick very well to the PCB, and it's a very cheaply manufactured PCB. It's not the glass fiber thingy, it's just the cheaper one you find in power supplies. Alright, that was pretty much it. those are finished solid. I mean, sure, some of those don't look that perfect, especially that one right there, but that's because I scratched some of the surface of the PCB off, so it's directly exposed copper. But yeah, that's just gonna work out just fine. All I can do now is trim those down a little bit so we don't short out with the metal of the bottom case when it goes back on. Okay, just make sure all the pads are still looking fine. And no metal pieces like this are laying on the board, because you really don't want that, because that will definitely ruin your day. Alright, that looks good enough. Let's turn this thing over, get the multimeter, and have a look if that issue we had before is still there. If it still is there, something else was wrong and that amp is still just fine. But if not, well, then we fixed it. Gonna be interesting. Ta-da! Nothing on the output. Exactly how it should be. And trust me, this thing is now switched on. Alright. That went really, really well. Let's check the other output. Nothing there either. Just like it should be. Absolutely perfect. So well, that seems to be a complete success. I'm going to hook up my speakers now to this thing, and we have a look if it actually works. Alright, that's interesting. We still have... Our display seems to work just fine, but as soon as we go away from tape, it switches off. Okay. And only briefly sometimes highlights the proper channels. That is weird. So tape works just fine. Others work too, but don't show up. That is weird. So we just have another issue with this thing. Interesting. Probably just gonna be something rather simple. Alright, I'm still having a bit of an issue with the lamps, since that now started to pop up, but I've hooked the stereo up to my existing speakers. Didn't have proper cables to mount those. So my speakers are... one is there, one is there. Alright. But I can change the balance with this and you will still be able to hear the audio, even though this camera records in mono. Alright, let's play something. And it was this side that was not working. And as you can hear, the audio is back again. So it really just was this thing that was broken. And well, of course, I'm going to replace the plastic in here also with a yellow one that has backlight with some green LEDs. Because hey, that's something Sony could have done at the time. And it looks really, really nice if you have an additional lamp on here that tells you the stereo is actually switched on. And if it's the power button, that is pretty cool. As you can see, it's not lighting up at all, no matter what channel. I mean, it sometimes flashes a little bit, but yeah. Those should be glowing. No clue what's going on there. I already checked, and it seems as soon as I plug this thing in, there's no voltage present anymore. But it's a very simple 12-volt power supply, so yeah. Nothing really that's too complicated. It gets its 9-volt AC, so there's no issue. And the rectification still works. Maybe that bodge in there with the resistor wasn't such a good idea. So I'm pretty much just gonna put the resistor on the negative side of this. Alright, for that one thing. You've probably heard that there's a little bit of a cracking when I move this balance slider. Right there. Here too. Now that is because, well, since the previous owner was a smoker, and you can still tell that by the dirt and dust that is in here, it's kind of disgusting. But I got this unit cheap, so I don't mind that. Just gotta clean it up. We get my favorite thing in the world, it's contact spray. Get in there, push the nozzle into the slider, and just spray some in. on either side. Stuff is non-conductive. Just move it alongside a few times. And you can already hear that the scratching is going away. There, solved. Now only thing, 2 screws are missing. One is down there and one is up here. I don't know if there's another one missing. Yeah, on the other side too. Now I don't know if originally Sony never installed those screws, but I don't really believe that, since it looks like the screws belong there. So I'm gonna try and find the proper ones and put those back in, because yeah, it should be properly tightened up and not like that, floating around in the breeze there. Yeah. Surprisingly, these sliders work just fine. Probably because they are mounted in a different way, so the dust doesn't really go inside of them, it just falls to the bottom of them. Whereas the volume slider also, we do have some cracking issues in here somewhere, especially in the back. But you will never go back there, because I don't know why, but Sony designed these things so that they are freaking loud even at volume level 1. But again, same thing. Well, this thing that sadly is as good as I can get it. On the end we still have some little scratching, but in the front it seems to be nice and clean. So yeah, now I just gotta go and get the replacement capacitor that I blew up while I was testing on this unit. There we go, but the unit works fine without it, but I'm definitely going to replace that because that does some filtering and I do want that filtering back. But hey, this does look like a complete success so far. Just very simple integrated amplifier that just blew up because somebody probably overloaded this thing. Oh, switching is almost gone. Nice. I'm not going to bother on getting the relay out of here, since that was what broke in my other stereo. That thing down here, that's the relay. Since this one still seems to work just fine, there are no contact issues with that. So yeah, this stereo definitely has not been used a long time, since I'm pretty sure somebody overloaded it, tried to fix it, or he blew some light bulbs out and tried to fix those and accidentally killed this amp. So yeah, I don't know. And yeah, and I'm very sure that fixing those light bulbs is the easiest thing in this thing. Alright, that repair was a complete success. I actually found out what happened to the LEDs. It turns out that the small fuse that I thought I had blown in here actually hadn't blown. Maybe it was a resettable fuse, I'm not too sure, but the thing is, those LEDs all got over voltage and were pretty much dead. But yeah, I currently have just bridged the fuse. I'm going to install a proper one, of course. Of course, I can go a lot lower now than original, because, well, the LEDs don't pull as much power as the light bulbs before. Now, want to see something interesting? Well, just today I found another unit. Now this unit is in actually worse condition than the other one. And, well, that is because somebody has not really taken care of it. So it has got some more scratches and bangs and everything. It still has its light bulbs in here. Surprisingly, they're all the same color, but as you can hear, there are some minor issues with the audio, especially the volume slider. Ah yes, isn't that how it's supposed to sound, or when you swap from one channel to another? Well, input actually. And you're saying that only 2 of the lamps are actually working. So, yeah, a lot more cleanup. A ton of dust in here actually. And now the interesting thing is actually the input side looks quite different than on this unit. The fuse here is not installed. And now here the second fuse is installed. Here we have a Euro plug. And on this side we have some weird, not too sure what that is. And also the switch looks different. We have a protection thingy here, and we have a rubber case all over the entire switch. We have the same switch, but the protection thing is there, and the rubber is only over it and not the entire switch itself. So yeah, probably have to fire up the compressor and get this thing cleaned out. And if you're wondering, no, this is not rust on the transformer here. That is not rust at all. That is just, I have no clue what that is. But it just seems like the thing to stick the transformer together. It's glue. So somebody wasn't as neat and tidy with this unit when he made it. There's a lot of leakage down here. There's pretty much nothing down there. Or this one got just too hot, but I don't believe that. Now, as you can hear, probably this unit is actually working. Whoa. Okay, that was weird. Gonna need a lot of cleaning, though. Yeah. These don't seem to be as affected again. Yeah, this one doesn't do anything at all. Well, there we go. So yeah, you still need a lot of cleaning. These, I will clean them of course, but yeah. And somebody, there are screws missing in this unit. This is weird, but I'm probably gonna find the proper screws. So yeah. Alright, so well, was it? I also have replaced the missing capacitor in this unit. So now we can pretty much just say put it back together and done. So, and everything you've seen me do on this unit is what I'm pretty much gonna do on that unit as well, except for of course swapping the amplifier, since that one works just fine, so I don't have to replace anything there. Only difference, yeah, this thing needs a lot more cleaning, and yeah, this is my unit. Of course I'm gonna keep that. And this is a unit for a friend that I'm giving him for as a present for his birthday or so. So yeah, thank you for watching and goodbye.